This video discusses possible layouts for your pivot tables, that is, how everything is arranged. Although pivot tables have been available in Excel for a long time, there was only one possible layout until Excel 2007. At that time, Microsoft introduced two new layouts, and the default layout became the compact layout, not the tabular layout from pre-2007 versions. You might favor the old tabular layout, not the newer compact layout. Fortunately, it is easy to switch to the layout you prefer. I have already created a pivot table where total spent is broken down by customer region and customer gender. The pivot table is in the default compact layout, but you don't really appreciate the effect until there are at least two fields in the rows area. So I will add the purchase time field to the rows area. Now you see the reason for the term compact. All of the row categories for region and purchase time are listed in a single column, column A. In this case, the label in cell A4, row labels, is generic and not very meaningful. You could actually delete it without losing any information. Now I will switch to the old tabular layout still favored by many users. You do this through the Pivot Table Tools design ribbon. In this layout, each row field gets its own column and a meaningful label in row 4. Although this takes up a little more space, you can understand why so many users favor it. In fact, one prominent Excel guru, Bill Jelen, makes a strong argument for switching forever back to tabular layout and abandoning the compact layout. There is one other layout you might also like, the outline layout. You have to stare pretty closely to see any real differences between this and the tabular layout, but it does have a slightly cleaner look. Of course, the choice is yours. The numerical results are identical for all three of these layouts. The other options in the report layout list are more cosmetic. You can either repeat labels or not. This has no effect in compact layout, but it does in tabular or outline layout. There are a few other options in the layout group of the design ribbon, and you can experiment with them to find your preferences. First, you can insert some blank rows or then remove them. Second, you can show subtotals at the top or bottom of each group, or not show them at all. Actually, these options depend on the layout. For example, as you just saw, you can't show subtotals at the top of the group in tabular layout, but you can in compact layout. Also, there are ways to show only some of the subtotals, but I will explain these options in another video on value field settings for categorical fields. You see one other subtotals option, to include filtered items in totals. This option is enabled only if a filter is in place. I don't recommend this option because it will almost surely confuse users. They expect subtotals to ignore filtered items, not to include filtered items. Finally, you can show some, all, or none of the grand totals. Clearly, the choice of report layout is very subjective. Some users strongly prefer one layout, and other users prefer another layout just as strongly. you can decide which layout looks best and tells your story best. Just keep in mind that they all provide the same numerical information.